Hello and welcome to the Heal the World show. The Heal the World show is brought to you by the Healing Institute. I'm Permelia Parham. I'm the founder and the CEO of the Healing Institute. And in case you don't know, the Healing Institute is a hub of holistic practitioners, and we are healing the world. We have a big job, but we're up for it. So we are looking for people that are also searching to be well and stay well as they're on their health journey. Now, I've been on my own health journey for over 20 years. I've used holistic ways of being well the whole time, and I truly believe in them. So we want other people to know about that. We want to give people hope that there are ways for them to be well physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Now, why is this important to me? Well, I had a tragedy in my family. My mother passed away at the age 61. It was right at Christmas time, and I also was 5 months pregnant with my son. So this was due to complications on a medication she'd been on for a very long time, and it affected her kidneys. And so she died of complications due to kidney failure. Now, not only was this a tragedy because she died so young, but it was also a tragedy because she never got to meet my children. And I don't want that to happen for anybody else. So the Heal the World show every week, Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, we are introducing a practitioner from the Healing Institute. And today I am very, very excited to introduce Marie Piplovic. This is her second time on Heal the World show. So welcome, Marie. It's wonderful to have you here. Marie is a conscious breathing facilitator and a wellness coach. And the work she does is absolutely amazing. So Marie, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and we're going to talk about how you help your clients in a few minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you. First, thank you, Permelia. It's great to be here on this show for the second time now. And the first time I went into a lot about my journey. And like most of us at the Healing Institute, we all, and me included, went through some sort of health crisis, wellness crisis, well being crisis that put us on a journey in a different direction. And that journey is what brought me to the breath work, conscious breathing, and that became my foundation for what I'm sharing here today and with the Healing Institute.
Wonderful. So I think you're going to start us. Our topic today is press the pause button, the importance of silence, stillness, and serenity. So give
Yeah.
us an example of what that means to you.
Okay, well, let's just start with a really short pause. So I invite you to close your eyes and be still. Be silent. Notice how you are breathing. Notice how you feel. Now open your eyes and look around. Is anything different?
That definitely helped me. Absolutely. I mean, as the host for this show, I'm always pretty excited to start it. And but there's always some anticipation of how it's going to turn out. So thank you for that. That was wonderful. I do feel much calmer.
Thank you.
Um, so we have a comment that Leslie actually used one of your techniques that you learned from the first live that we did. So yes, great.
Right on, Leslie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, she uses it when she's stressed. So,
Perfect.
those are definite ways when anxious, a little anxious, stressed, things maybe life is not just rolling along the way we planned it. So it's
Right.
always good to take that pause, right? To
Perfect.
take that pause and
Perfect.
reflect.
Perfect.
So why is pressing this pause button so important to you, Marie?
Oh, why is it important to me? Wow. Mm. Let me pause here for a moment. Oh. I spent 30 plus years working in information technology. And I was a high energy doer, and I was that from probably when I came out of the womb. I was very active. But during my working years in that particular career, I was always on some sort of deadline or timeline, and I was always under some sort of pressure. And that pressure changed frequently, a lot of starts and stops and changes and movements. And it seemed to always be an emergency or a priority for those I worked for. So I had this really long to do list, and I was absorbed in thinking and planning. I was absorbed in making decisions and reading and writing. I was editing, researching. I spent time analyzing and coordinating, configuring, training, testing, and basically delivering on a steadily moving basis. I was moving from task to task, mostly without adequate stopping, refueling, or resting. So I often ate my lunch and my dinner at times at my desk without taking any time to actually savor it and enjoy it. And when I exercised, my mind was always on my work. And
So
I
it
basically,
sounds to me like you were like almost in a pressure cooker type of situation.
yeah, I felt like it. I was always, well, and I put myself there, right? I can't blame anybody for that, but I was just so engrossed in that. So I forced myself to really adapt to those expectations and demands of others and basically the external world.
Which we
And
often do. We often do,
yeah,
depending on our job or the work
yeah,
that we do. Mhm.
yeah. And that constant activity actually became an internal pattern with me. So I continued that into my personal life. And so I was always focused on this doingness, doing, doing, doing. And my internal world was actually swirling around and uncomfortable. So I was unbalanced, and mostly my stress was unmanaged, and I was feeling anxious. And I had these like judgments about what I had to do. I have to do this, I should do that, and when. So there was a lot of that going on. And I really only stopped when my body forced me to. So often that was from sleep deprivation. Maybe there were times I was just plain exhausted, and I couldn't think anymore even. And eventually I really physically burned out and had painful health issues, which some of them I mentioned in our first show. And so this was really what forced these forced pauses actually were not silent. They weren't they
They
weren't
weren't serene.
comfortable. No, they weren't still, they weren't serene, they were, and the reason was I continued to be worried. It was
Mm.
the mindset. I continued to be worried. I continued to be stressed. And then when my body decided to force me to pause, I was really disappointed in my body. Oh my God, how can you do this to me? So I'm upset with my body. I'm resisting this forced pause. And so even though I was being forced to slow down and rest, I was still out of
Yeah.
balance.
So you
Yeah.
weren't accepting it. You weren't
No,
accepting this pause
no,
as a good thing, even
no.
though your body was saying that it was a good thing.
Yeah, I was just I was just like, "No, no, no. I got too much to do," right? Everything was, I got too much to do. I have to deliver. I'm responsible. I can't, I can't slow down. And so physically, emotionally, and spiritually, I was actually depleted, and I was
Mhm.
jeopardizing my health. I was actually increasing what you focus on, what they say, what you focus on, you get. And the more I focused on that, the more I got, you know.
So, having had that experience yourself, then the work that you do now is really beneficial to your clients who are now having that experience. Can you give us an idea, give us an example of one of your clients that you've worked with?
Yes, I had one client who actually incorporated some of the techniques that I share into his meditation practice.
Mhm.
And so by incorporating that into that, he learned to pause more, and he actually has noticed more profound peacefulness in his life.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So pressing the pause button, um, explain to us what is that about, um, pressing the pause button? How is that about not doing?
Oh, how is that about not doing?
Yes.
Well, I definitely believe it's not doing. It's doing nothing. It's no moving. It's no decision making. It's no reading, writing, no journaling, no talking. Um, for me, it's about giving the body, the mind, and the spirit time to just rest, to relax, to gather strength, to actually rejuvenate.
And with
So,
our very busy, busy world where we have information coming at us in all many
yeah,
different areas, we very rarely take that time to do that.
right. Yeah. And so pausing actually gives us time to be instead of
Mhm.
do. We get to be. We get to check in and see how we feel. And I believe that when we stop and pause periodically, we can now look at whether we're moving in the best direction and the most authentic direction, or if maybe we're going backwards, or maybe we're stuck. And I've been backwards and I've been stuck many times, and I still get there. I still sometimes do that to myself. But I now have a tool where I can, oh, maybe I should pause. Maybe I should just rest and relax. And usually when I do that, I come out with a better decision.
Mhm. So it's
Yeah.
taking time for ourselves just to do a bit of reflection,
Hmm.
because
Absolutely.
when we're doing, when we're the human doings, not the human beings,
Yeah.
that doesn't give us time for reflection.
No,
And
no, it
as you
doesn't.
say, oftentimes, quite often, it gives it, you make the better decision because you're not trying to rate, your mind's not racing, trying to
Right.
make that kind of decision.
Yeah. And you're not forcing that decision. You're not
Yes, you're
you're
thinking
not
your
putting
mind,
that should
yeah,
on it,
the
that
mind has got the one, is the what needs to make the decision, when
right.
in fact, intuitively, often the decision is better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what would you recommend us? How can we remind ourselves? Um, should we put the schedule in our calendar to have that reflection, or what is your recommendation?
Oh, let me pause and think about that. You can. You can put it as a reminder. I mean, you could even do something like on iWatches, there's little um, breathing apps that you could put on there that could be a reminder for you to just stop and pause and breathe. So there's little apps you can use, or you could put it as a reminder if you want to do it certain times a day. For me, sometimes all it takes is just to wake up in the morning and before getting out of bed to pause,
Mhm.
or at the end of the day to pause, be still, be serene, be silent, and just so for me, it becomes a more of a start day and end day. And then during times when I'm feeling stressed, I like to go out on my hammock, lay out on my hammock, and I'm there. I love that. So sometimes just during the afternoon, if you have an opportunity to just pause. If I had known and if I'd done this when I was working in the IT world, I think I probably would have done it every couple hours, you know?
Well, that's a great,
Right.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
mentioned that, because that's a question that we have is it just something that I don't think we would intuitively just stop and pause.
Right. Right.
So it needs to be a habit in a way. It needs
Yeah.
to be something we're consciously aware that we're going to do. So as you
Yeah.
say, first thing in the morning, last thing at night, maybe every half hour during the day, or hour and a
Yeah.
half, or every 2 hours, but it is something that we have to consciously make as a habit almost that we're
Right.
going to do that.
Yeah. And we could just start with, you know what? I'm going to set my alarm for right before I eat my lunch. I'm going to pause for 3 minutes. You could just
Yeah.
start with one. You don't have to force yourself to do it more than once a day or twice, but just start small and, take
Small
steps.
little short pauses.
Yeah.
When I was learning how to meditate, I do a yoga meditation first thing in the morning. And I thought they were teaching us to do it for 30 minutes. I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to be able to lay there for 30 minutes first thing in the morning. But you know what? Over time, because I've created that as a habit and I do it every single morning,
Yeah.
it's very easy for me to now meditate for nearly 30 minutes
Right.
every morning.
Yeah. So
So
you're already taking that pause.
I'm
You're
taking
already,
that pause.
yeah.
I need to practice taking more pauses during the day, I have to admit. But I do have my first thing in the morning and my gratitude journal that I write in,
Right.
when I just before I go to sleep,
Right.
because I believe that those are very, very important. Can you give us an idea of another client that you've had that's using your techniques that's worked for them?
Yes, I can. Let's see. Who do I want to think about here? Um, One of my other clients, let me think about this. She embraced a new direction and purpose because she started pausing, relaxing, and releasing those energetic blocks more consistently during her days. And so she started following her authentic self. She actually started following her true desires. She started making shifts and changes that were better for her health, better for her relationships, all of that. And I do believe that it was partly because she was starting to use these pauses, she was starting to use her breath more, and she became more habitual at at doing good things for herself.
Which again is another habit that we need to incorporate in our lives,
Mhm.
because as women especially, we're taught to do for other people, not think
Right,
about ourselves. We're the last people that we should take care of, although we now know that is not true, because if we're not healthy and we don't take care of ourselves, then we're going to get ill, and then
right,
we can't take care of our family or our loved ones or people that we want to be responsible for, or do the things we want to do in
right.
life. Yeah.
Yeah,
So tell me, because you're a conscious breathing facilitator, tell us how conscious breathing fits into the idea of
yeah.
pressing the pause button.
Well, that's a great question, and my answer to that is that conscious breathing is that bridge to that present moment. It's the bridge to stillness, to silence, and to serenity. And the best part of conscious breathing is it can get you there quickly. You don't
Ah,
have to spend a lot of focus or time. You can get there to that place of stillness and serenity much faster. And so, our breath is really the only part of our autonomic nervous system that we actually have control over. And so, when we take a moment to focus on our breathing and settle into like a slow rhythmic pattern, we are actually crossing over that bridge and we're starting to process um, and to balance our body, mind, and emotions. So it really guides us. It's like that stop sign
mhm.
and so it stops us so that we can go into a place of rejuvenation, recharge, and refuel ourselves.
It's so important as well, to be able to do that, and when we are, I think, more aware of
Mhm.
when our bodies and our systems and our minds need that, then with that breathing, and I've been very fortunate to be part of a group that you and I belong to, and so I get to experience the breathing techniques that you offer. Um, that then really helps us actually embed that into our minds and our psyche about how important that is. So when we have that
Right.
opportunity to have that experience, then we realize, wow, this is very important for us to take that time to breathe.
Absolutely, yes. And the beauty of it is it's simple,
And
it's
it's free.
accessible, it's powerful, and guess what? You could do it anytime you want during your day. It fits into daily life. You can
Yes, beautiful.
right there.
So a couple more results that we would like to hear about your
Okay.
clients.
Let's see.
Um,
Another client, she feels way more spiritual and loving
mhm,
when she pauses and she takes care of herself. It's like she's connecting to that spiritual part of herself, I think. And so that using breath techniques and meditation, of course, helps her to really get into that spiritual space. And
which
then,
is so important. You know, we're not always, we have to think spirituality is religion, which I
right.
think a lot of people equate the two, and
Yeah.
it's not necessarily so. It's just when you are feeling that calmness and connection to whatever you believe in,
Hmm.
divine spirit or the universe, or
Hmm.
um, what whatever it is that you feel connected to. It's so important to have the time to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. The other one that I'm thinking of is I had a very exhausted client. She was being pulled in many different directions, not only in work, but in her personal life. And so she found by using breath work and taking these periodic pauses throughout the day, and actually, I call this self care. I mean, that's the
Mhm,
term I
mhm,
would call.
mhm.
She actually was able to relieve that pressure that she was feeling from trying to meet all these demands of others. She was able to release the pressure and, really make clearer decisions and take clearer actions.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Because oftentimes our brains and our minds just get so full of what needs to be done, and we get into that almost fight or flight
Yeah.
um, mode of how am I going to get this all done, and where am I going to find the
Right.
time to do it all?
Right.
And for people that are multifaceted, that have got families and jobs, well, we all are
Yeah.
multifaceted. It can take you out completely.
Mhm.
And then, as we know, as being part of the Healing Institute and connecting with all the practitioners, is it can have an effect on your physical health and your
Absolutely.
emotional health and your mental health. So very important
Yes.
to keep that. So I think we have time if you would like to guide us. I
Sure.
don't see any more questions in the chat right at the moment. If you'd like to guide us for a short pause, I think we
Sure.
have time today.
Okay. I'm gonna look at the time just to make sure I don't take us too long. So, let's do that. So I invite you to get comfortable and close your eyes. Focus on your breathing and allow your breath to slow down and settle into a rhythmic and balanced pace that feels good to you. And then, as you focus on your breathing, imagine you are crossing a bridge to a place of stillness, silence, and serenity. Notice the stillness, silence, and serenity between each breath. And then notice the stillness, silence, and serenity all around you and deep within you. Press that pause button and let your thoughts and the external world fade away. And allow yourself to be still, be silent, and be serene. for a couple breaths. Now bring your awareness back to your breathing and imagine you're coming back across that bridge. Did you notice how stillness can help you gather strength and clarity? Did you notice the silence behind any sounds in the room between each breath? Did you notice the feeling of serenity? Now take a slow, relaxed inhale that is twice as big as your natural inhale, and then fully let go with an extended sigh. Open your eyes and notice how you feel.
Well, I definitely do feel serene and still. So thank you, and that was beautiful. That was wonderful. So for those of people that are watching today and making comments, Marie has an offer, and you know, a, quite a few people are always at least telling me that they don't sleep well, or they're not sleeping. They're not getting the best sleep that they think they should have. So Marie has an amazing offer. It's an audio guide, and we will put the link in the comments. And we're going to go back through the comments and chat with everybody. So we'll put that link in, and you are welcome to connect with Marie um, and take advantage of this beautiful offer, this audio guide. I'm going to also show you, this is a way to connect with Marie on the Healing Institute website. So we'll just let that run for a few minutes while I say thank you so much to everybody who came and watched today. And for those of you who are going to be watching the replay, you know, in a 30-minute show, it's not always possible for us to check the chat and answer in the chat. So that's why we're definitely will be going back and we'll be connecting with each and every one of you. So you know what? We have a big ask. We have a big job to do. We are healing the world. And we are doing it with the practitioners, the amazing, wonderful practitioners that we have in the Healing Institute. And you got to meet one today. Marie Piplovic, thank you so much for being part of Heal the World Show, Marie, for the second time. Delighted to have you here, and greatly appreciate you being here and the offers that you have and the amazing, wonderful modalities that you offer.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to share again.
All right, everyone, have a wonderful day, and we will see you next week on Heal the
Heal
World
the
Show.
world. Bye.
We're going to heal the world. Yes.